Ladies and gents, boys and girls, Thursday, April 6th, 2023. Hope you're all doing well. Chris Phillips here, your host of the Daily Crow of the Spurs Up Show. Appreciate you all tuning in. I see Noah Johns, GA, Ethan, what's going on? Also those in the Big Cock Club Discord, have the TDC Questions channel, to be sure your questions are answered there. I see James Kendall. Some of you have already tuned into the Inside the Gamecocks appearance we just did. Appreciate JC, JB, and Phil for having yours truly on. And, of course, we'll have JC Sherbert on the show at 1:15. Looking forward to that. Also, happy opening round of the Masters for all of those who celebrate. As I showed the guys on Inside the Gamecocks here, I'll show you as well. You're not truly a die-hard fan of the Masters unless you have your own green jacket. How about that? Look at that. My grandfather's green jacket, but she is a beauty, folks. She is a beauty. I need to get that altered, but a beautiful jacket nonetheless. Guys, again, really excited taking your questions, comments, calls as always. 843-790-3377. That's 843-790-3377. And of course, as always, TDC brought to you by our friends over at Prize Picks. Go down the Prize Picks app or go to prizepicks.com. And when you do, use the promo code TSUS to receive a 100% instant deposit match up to $100. Guys, you can play anything and everything, college sports, pro sports. Also, they've got the golf. Yours truly has a golf play in. I've got over on birdies for Max Homa's round and under on birdies for Tiger Woods round, which I think on Tiger Woods round, I think I'm off to a pretty good start. He's not off to the greatest starts in the tournament. So anyways, guys, prizepicks.com or the app. You can head over there, play. Tons of fans and listeners of the Daily Crow and of the Spurs Up Show have made tons of money with our friends at Prize Picks, and you should as well. So again, go download the Prize Picks app or go to prizepicks.com. And when you do, use the promo code TSUS to receive a 100% instant deposit match up to $100. Be sure to check them out and tell them that Chris from the Spurs Up Show sent you. Let's go ahead and dive into it. Austin Greer says, you sounded like D1 baseball this morning. Nothing but good things to say about LSU. Their bullpen is far from ours. And yeah, Austin, on that note, I've picked LSU to win the game, or win the series, 2 out of 3. I mean, I will say this, Austin. They have been susceptible in the bullpen. You're correct. And especially game 3s, they have struggled. They're not immortal. LSU is beatable. This series is winnable for South Carolina, assuming they get all 3 games in. Let's keep our fingers crossed. But the series is winnable. But when it comes down and you look at it, what South Carolina's got, what LSU's got, I think LSU will have one more punch than the Yardcocks will. It doesn't mean the Gamecocks aren't a good baseball team. It doesn't mean that South Carolina isn't going to have a very great season and go to Omaha even. Maybe so. Who knows? But I'm rolling with LSU winning 2 out of 3. And Austin, I will say this, that LSU is a team that deserves a lot of praise heaped on them. They are really, really, really good. Like, they're really good. And so is South Carolina. We're also really, really, really good. Both teams are really good. Certainly, Austin, if you can get in the bullpen, you like your chances a lot more than going up against that starting rotation. I think on Sunday, though, game 3, or again, assuming we get game 3 in, you like your chances there. They have not fared well in those game 3s. But, yeah, LSU's a good ball club, and if you expected me to bash them the entire show and talk down on them, we're just not talking about the same team. LSU's really good. You respect the opponent. They are a fantastic ball club, and there's a reason they're ranked number 1. Let's see. Travie, what's going on? Brandon Coon says Derek McClendon will be a good pickup if we get him. His numbers were similar to Gilbert Edmond. Yeah, for sure. That would be a big one. No doubt. Brandon, let's see. Wanda says, how's weather looking for tomorrow night's game coming from Greenville? Wanda, I would pump the brakes a little bit. If you were coming from Greenville, I would just hold up. I don't know what it's going to look like tomorrow, if we're going to play tomorrow night. Just being on with Inside the Gamecocks, JB hinted at the fact that he's talked with some people behind the scenes that it sounds like they will try to start early tomorrow. Because if you look at the weather, it's only going to get worse as we get later in the day. He was hinting at the fact of maybe 10, 11, noon, something like that. That first pitch of the second game will happen very early in the day. So again, fingers crossed. Hopefully it happens, but we shall see. Hopefully Weather Nature will cooperate. Austin Greer says, again, you're downplaying how good we are. We have the best bullpen in the country right now. I mean, Austin, you act like you even said to me that you were leaning taking LSU 2 out of 3. So what am I saying about this series that you really disagree with? I'm not downplaying how good South Carolina is. This is a really, really good team. I think it's going to be a very close back and forth series. I would say LSU will have one more punch than the Gamecocks will have when it's all said and done. That doesn't mean South Carolina is not a great team. That doesn't mean that LSU is just head and shoulders better. But I think that they will have one more punch than the Gamecocks will. I know South Carolina's bullpen is dominating, dicing people up. I get that. I understand that. Austin Greer, they are a complete team, no doubt. LSU's a complete team. I mean, their bullpen is suspect, but still pretty damn good. So, hey, if you want to roll with the LSU sucks thing, you can do that. But, yeah. Austin says they're far from what Tennessee was last year. I mean, I think it's going to be a while before we see a team like that in college baseball again. That just dominates the way they did. I mean, what was Tennessee, like 28-0 at one point, something like that? So, again, I've got LSU taking 2 out of 3. I think it'll be a great series back and forth, but I think the Gamecocks, I think LSU has just one more punch in them than South Carolina does. Where is that? I'm trying to see. Now you've got me wondering here about pitching. Let's see. This guy normally posts. Here it is. Okay. Post weekend number 3 of conference play. South Carolina sits, and this is after, so this is not including Tuesday's game. So this was after 3 weekends in the SEC. South Carolina, a 3.12 ERA overall. LSU, a 3.54 ERA overall. Starting pitching. Again, this is not including Tuesday. Starting pitching. South Carolina's starting pitching ERA, a 3.44. LSU's, a 2.95. Relief pitching. Not including Tuesday. South Carolina's a 2.72. LSU's a 4.18. So Austin Greer, to your point, the bullpen has been suspect. Now, just weekend pitching after 3 weekends of SEC play, not including Tuesday. Just weekend pitching. Total weekend pitching. The Gamecocks have a 3.61 ERA on the weekends. LSU a 3.82. LSU's weekend starters to this point, 2.70 ERA. South Carolina, 3.59. Weekend relievers to this point. South Carolina, 3.63. Kentucky's actually got the best bullpen right now statistically in the conference, 2.19 ERA, which is crazy. 3.63 for the Gamecocks. And hey, you're right. LSU on the weekends, their bullpen, a 5.24 ERA. So no doubt, if you can knock out those starters, you can get them out early. If you can get them out early, you got a good shot. And I will say, suspect, Austin, you don't pitch at LSU if you suck. So I will not say their bullpen is just trash. It's middle of the pack. It's not great, though. It's not as good as South Carolina's. I will give you that. It's not as good as the Gamecocks. I don't know that the bullpen is really what I'm worried about, though, right? So I think that there's areas that LSU has the advantage this weekend. There's areas South Carolina has the advantage this weekend. Again, I think it is a very close series, and I'm not calling you crazy if you pick the Gamecocks to take 2 of 3. But I think, again, it's going to be like 2 heavyweight fighters. I think LSU has one more punch than Carolina does. So, again, LSU's bullpen, a bit suspect, but as a team, as a whole, they're very good. I mean, they are number 1 in the country. I don't think I have to convince you they're a very good ball club. So if you can knock out Skeens, you can knock out the rest of their weekend rotation, you can get in that bullpen. I think you've got a great opportunity, like you said, Austin, and this is a team that has shown once they get in the bullpen, they have shown that great resiliency and been able to get after teams' bullpens, if you will, and especially if you're down late in the game, does not matter. We've shown the ability to come back and win anyway. But anyways, I mean, LSU's a really good team. I don't know, Austin, what you wanted me to say on the podcast. I said what I felt was true, which is LSU is a team that deserves a lot of credit. They are. They're very good. They're very, very good. They're not unbeatable. They're not immortal, but they are very, very, very good. They're very good, bottom line. Anyways, guys, 843-790-3377. I will say this to Austin Greer's point. Hey, you bring up some very valid points, my friend, and I'm glad you do. I'm glad you do in regards to just keeping it a buck, keeping it real, that, their bullpen is gettable. Their bullpen is gettable, and that's something I've even seen LSU fans have worried about a little bit here and there. So, if South Carolina, if they can get into that bullpen early, especially, they can get into it early, I think you like your odds, you like your chances. Tonight will be really, really tough, though. Tonight will be tough. Tonight will be tough. Going up against Paul Skeens, just, facing that. Going to be a tough challenge for sure. Again, guys, 843-790-3377. I am locked in. I've got the LSU Tigers taking 2 of 3 this weekend, but I'm expecting if they get 3 games in, it's going to be a great series. I mean, flat out, it's going to be a great series. Cannot wait. I think South Carolina, I think even if the Gamecocks lose 2 of 3, I think what you're going to see this weekend, assuming they get all 3 games in, I'm speaking as such if they will get all 3 games in, but I think you're going to see a team that's going to prove they belong. I think Carolina's going to they're going to prove, you know what, the first 9 games, you can talk about our schedule all you want, but we are for real. We are for real. Bottom line, end of story. I think that's what you're going to see from this ball club this weekend. So, and Josh, you're right. Baseball, my friend, it is a weird game. It can be we might be talking about Paul Skeens, this, that, whatever. He might give up 10 runs a night. I mean, you just truly never know. I don't think that's going to happen, but it could happen. Baseball is a crazy. Carolina could tattoo Paul Skeens. You never know. You never know. Anyways, guys, 843-790-3377. That's 843-790-3377. GA says, I think Austin Greer just likes playing the role of the villain. I love that. Yeah, I think Austin might like it too, but, I love the banter. So, Austin Greer says, why do we have to prove that? Why are we still debating if we're for real or not? I don't understand that. Austin, I think we're for real. I know you would think we're for real. I'm just speaking as a whole in regards to what maybe the college baseball community thinks. Maybe there's some doubters out there that still have questions. Austin, I think we're for real. I'm not telling you. I'm not sitting here saying, well, this weekend's going to tell me if we're for real or not. Carolina's for real. The only thing that a weekend like this, I think would tell you is, are we, top 5 good? At least at this point, are we? I mean, but we are good. I mean, South Carolina is a really good team this year. You're not 27-3 by accident. You're not 8-1 in the conference by accident. Now, what this weekend could maybe tell you is, are we 18-12 good, or are we maybe we're going to win the SEC East type of good at like 20-10? Like, are we that good? You know what I mean? Which is a very thin margin, but that's the SEC, and that's SEC baseball, and that's what these weekends sort of determine. So, Austin, to your point, I don't need to be proven to me that, like, are we a contender or pretender? I don't look at it that way. I don't look at it that way, but I speak more so for the college baseball pundits out there. I mean, you bring up D1 baseball a lot. Maybe a D1 baseball or these college baseball pundits, maybe they start giving South Carolina a little bit even more credit if you take 2 out of 3 against LSU. Certainly you'll get more credit. So, not that we need it on our end, but I'm just saying that, South Carolina will catch the attention of all of college baseball if they can take down the LSU Tigers. That is for sure. Anyways, guys, 843-790-3377. Would love to hear your thoughts on the series. Would love to hear your thoughts on the series for sure. Mark Kingston said, quote, "We are a confident team, and we should be. They've earned the right to have confidence. When you win 27 of your first 30 games, you should be confident. We also respect every team we play, including the one coming in this weekend, but we'll never back down from anyone. It's a healthy respect for your opponent, but it's also a confidence in the building." I love that. I mean, that's absolutely how you should be. That's absolutely how you should be. Again, Eli Jersenbeck said this. It's a great opportunity, but they're facing South Carolina. It's not us facing LSU. They're coming in and facing us. I'm ready for it, and it's going to be a fun ride. Braylon Wimmer says, we have nothing to lose against those guys, so let's go out there and try to take a couple from them. That'd be fun. For sure. Again, I love the attitude going in the weekend. I love the attitude going in the weekend from the Yardcocks. I love everything I've heard from Mark Kingston and all the players. And yeah, man, strap it up. They're good. We're good. Let's go play. Why not? So I think anybody out there that's saying that it's just woe is me, LSU's going to sweep, we're no good, whatever. I would disagree with that sentiment. I think it's one of those things you don't look at this weekend and say, oh my God, we have to take on LSU. It's the opportunity, man. What a great opportunity for South Carolina baseball. What a great opportunity this weekend provides this ball club to, again, continue to prove to people, hey, we are for real, for real. Like, I'm not saying to Austin Greer's point, like, I think we are, but you just continue to weekend after weekend after weekend show the country, show the world that you are for real in 2023. Blake Hastings, is Mark Kingston growing on anybody else? Well, Blake, winning cures all. Winning cures all. GA, thank you for bringing this up. He says, pumped for Carolina Ale House tonight. Yeah, guys, in case you missed it, the spring tour rolls on tonight in the upstate, Carolina Ale House, Woodruff Road. We will be back out there. Our final event of the upstate, or in the upstate, for the foreseeable future. I know that we've been spending a lot of time up here, which I love it, but there's a lot of other locations in the state. But really excited to get back out. Carolina Ale House, Woodruff Road. Going to be a fun one. We'll be out there. I'll be out there probably around 5:15, 5:30 or so, getting set up. We will have the Beamer Ball to the Moon Tour shirts for sale on hand. We'll also have the Beamer Ball towels and koozies. We'll also have koozies to give away. Going to be a lot of fun. And then, of course, 7 o'clock, we will have the game on. Even if it's just on my laptop, we will have the game on. I'm going to try to hook it up to the TV at Carolina Ale House, but I cannot promise that it will be on the TV because I don't think they have smart TVs. I don't think there's any way on Direct TV that you can pull up SEC Network Plus. So either way, we will have the game on. I can assure you of that. But really excited and looking forward to hanging out with you guys at Carolina Ale House, Woodruff Road, tonight in the upstate in Greenville. So again, I appreciate you all. Austin Skeens hasn't seen a lineup like this in his entire career. Killer after killer after killer. Austin, the only lineup that Skeens has seen like this one is his own lineup, right? Is his own lineup. A lineup that's hitting 337 and I would say rivals South Carolina's for sure. Also said LSU is terrible on Sunday. Steal one of Thursday or Friday, and we got the series locked up. Again, Austin, it's very doable. It is very, very doable, no doubt. I'm picking 2 of 3. I'm picking LSU to take the series. I think it's going to be very close, though. Would not shock me at all if the Gamecocks at home are able to get the series dub. It would not surprise me at all. Jeff Gullich says, I missed the live show, but caught up last night. Great one-on-one with Mark yesterday. Mark was electric. Mark was absolutely electric. Guys, also, be sure to check out the podcast that dropped this morning, episode 773. A full breakdown of this weekend. Also talked potential spring game opponents. Shane Beaver hinting to the fact that they'd like to play somebody in the spring game. I just kind of ran down a list of some teams I'd like to see them go up against. GA, I'm going to bring an HDMI cable. Yes, I will have that on me. That'll probably be what we'll do is hook that up via the HDMI cable. So we'll try to get it on a TV. We shouldn't have an issue, but, we'll see. We should be good to go. Either way, we're going to be watching the game tonight. Does not matter. Guys, our friends over, you guys know I love collegefootballnews.com. Just a quick side note. They dropped their spring version of their game-by-game predictions for every team in the SEC. They got the Gamecocks right now at this point going 8-4 and 4-4 in the conference. Losses to Georgia, Tennessee, Missouri, and Texas A&M. They do have the Gamecocks, though, winning 4 straight to close out the season, including a win over Clem Sucks. And I don't think, I genuinely looking at that, I don't think even with the loss to Mizzou, I don't think there's a Gamecock fan out there that would not take that. Especially if you beat Clem Sucks again. I mean, 2 straight wins over the Tigers would be massive. I mean, it would be massive for just the overall psyche and health of this fan base, if you will. Let's see. Rebecca, what's going on? Austin says, can't wait to sweep this weekend. From your lips to God's ears, my friend. Todd Smith, what's up? What's going on, Todd? Brandon Coons says, we got to start winning that Mizzou game. No doubt. No doubt, man. No doubt. How about the opportunity, by the way, for Will Sanders tonight? You know, everybody's talking about Paul Skeens and he's this, he's that. You know, even me. I mean, it's hard not to heap praise on a guy that throws 99 to 100 and also spots it up and just has the stuff he has and has been as good as he's been this season. But this kind of reminds me back in 2010, right? When Blake Cooper would go into every single Friday night and they were always talking about the other guy and heaping praise on the other guy. He's an MLB this, he's All-American that, he's this, he's that, whatever. And everybody would always forget about Blake Cooper. And all Blake Cooper did, you might recall in that 2010 season, all he did was every Friday go out there and shove and go toe-to-toe with whoever their guy was. And most of the time, he would beat him. Sort of feels like that scenario tonight. Will Sanders is almost kind of the forgotten guy at this point. It's all about Paul Skeens tonight. What about Will Sanders? What a great opportunity for him after getting the weekend off last weekend, get his mind right, get his body right. Will Sanders could remind all of college baseball and remind the SEC and even remind Gamecock fans why he was selected as a preseason All-American, why he was selected as, you know, a guy that a projected first-round draft pick, right? He could remind all of the country why he's that dude. Cannot wait to watch Will Sanders spin the baseball. Let's see. Let's see. Austin Gary Cooper was all SEC and an All-American. I know he was, Austin, but going into that 2010 season, he wasn't really highly thought of at all. He wasn't highly thought of at all. So, Rebecca says, where's John Rice at? I don't know where John Rice is. I don't know where John's at. Todd says, already bought tickets to the South Carolina Missouri Tigers football game, but hopefully we will win this year. You know, I've been to Como, but I've never been for a football game. I've just been into Columbia, Missouri, through the city. Went out to St. Louis one year and went to Como, but never been there for a game. So I've heard the atmosphere is kind of whatever. It's just kind of whatever, if you will. Anyways, guys, we'd love to hear your thoughts. 843-790-3377. That is 843-790-3377. Anybody watching the Masters? Anybody watching the golf? I wonder if they'd rip us down if we had the Masters stream up. I don't know. I'm not going to do it, but I was wondering. I don't know. Anybody out there watching the Masters? Yeah, guys, I would say this. Based off what I've seen and what I've heard and JB on Inside the Gamecocks, he just made me aware as well that what he's heard is it does sound like South Carolina tomorrow. They will try to get this in a double header, and they will play it early tomorrow. So we're talking it probably will affect the Daily Crow. May play at 11, may play at noon. If first pitch is at noon, we'll go live 10 to 12, and then we'll just jump right into baseball. But you know what we could do? Depending on what happens tomorrow, just depending on what happens, I know Austin's been asking for the live stream watch-alongs. Maybe we could just I don't know, go from TDC and rock with it and go right into the ball game. I don't know. That would be very interesting. I don't know. We'll figure out. I'm sure today they will announce what's going to happen. I'm sure today we're going to hear something, but it does sound like they're going to try to get in a doubleheader tomorrow and start it pretty early in the day. Rebecca says, I don't watch golf. It's boring. John Edward, I'm not a golf guy. Fair enough. Jacob says, I think Sanders just gets too hyped for the big matchups because that has control issues. Hopefully he can control the emotions tonight. For sure. Got to be composed. It's also one of those things where if you're Will Sanders, like you're not going up against Paul Skeens, if that makes sense. You're not going up against Paul Skeens. You're going up against the LSU lineup. In turn, obviously, you're facing him, but you got to worry about getting out Dylan Cruz and Gavin Dugas and Tommy Tanks and Trey Morgan and all those guys. You're not directly facing Paul Skeens. You know what I mean? So I'm excited, man. Will Sanders is going to be motivated. He's going to be fired up. He should be obviously well-rested mentally and physically. And, I will say this, not just for tonight, but fingers crossed you see the best version of Will Sanders for the rest of this season, because I just don't know what direction you go if after giving him a weekend off, you see more of the same. Like then what do you do? Are you going to bench him again? Are you going to move him around? Like what's the play after that if it doesn't work? And Austin Greer, to that point, Sanders is in an eat or starve situation. If he chokes tonight, he might not start another Friday game all season. I mean, to your point, man. To your point. Rebecca, yeah, I think I'm pretty sure Facebook is working. Yes. Apparently, Montario Hardesty says they're not worried about depth at running back room. Quote, we are right on pace. Interesting. Again, guys, 843-790-3377. That's 843-790-3377. It's funny. Somebody just commented, ass tat incoming. I will not be putting an ass tat bet. I will not be putting an ass tat bet on the line this season, folks. I can guarantee you that. I mean, the only one I could possibly put out there is if we win the national championship. But you know what? I don't want an ass tat, guys. Like, there's got to be a different bet we could make that is not one that would be a negative to my self-image or just myself in general. Yeah, I think I think we might be retiring the ass tat bets. I like the only one I could put out there was like if we win the national championship in football this year. Or let's even say, if we win the SEC championship in football, I will get a Beamer ball tat. But see, like, I don't want to make any more ass tat bets. Like, I really don't. I really, really don't. I really don't. I really don't want to make ass tat bets anymore. Anyways, Travi, wonder if Noah will be fine. I think we'll see. We'll see. We shall see. Jacob, what's the likelihood that Cruz gets intentionally walked this weekend in any capacity? I think it would depend on the situation, but I mean, Jacob, who are you trying to intentionally walk him to get to? Tommy Tanks, Trey Moore? Like, I mean, I know he's hitting 531, which is insane, by the way. But no, I think you let these guys pitch to each other, man. Let's play ball. Let's play ball. Let's get after it. You need to attack them as if they're just, hey, they're just another nameless, faceless opponent. Who gives a damn? We're going to go after them. They're going to go after us. Let's see what happens. So I think it's going to be a great weekend for baseball, man. I'm really, really hoping, obviously, that they get all 3 games in, find a way. Hopefully the weather maybe will cooperate tomorrow, and we can get that. Even if we get that doubleheader in, that would be fantastic. Let's see. Latest weather report for Columbia. Let's pull it up. We're going to be fine tonight. No doubt. We'll be fine tonight. 10%. I mean, it's going to be a beautiful night for baseball tonight. 10% chance of rain, highest 79. It'll be beautiful. Tomorrow is where it gets interesting. I don't see, dude, I say they play it in the morning. I mean, I think they ought to throw the first pitch at 10 a.m. Truly, if you're actually trying to get the games in, I mean, that's going to be the time to do so, because you look at tomorrow, you're around 10 to 20% until 10 a.m. Then at 11 a.m., it goes to 30%. 12 p.m., noon, it goes to 36%. 1 p.m., 43%. 2 o'clock, 68%. And then 3 o'clock is when it starts getting really bad. 87%, 86% at 4, 70% at 5, 75% at 6, 70% at 7, 60% at 8. I mean, it's going to rain all day, and then Saturday's a wash. I mean, Saturday's a wash. So, dude, I say you throw the first pitch early. I mean, early. I say you throw it really early. So, Austin Greer, Florida, Tennessee's on ESPNU tonight, and we're on SEC Plus, such BS. I mean, I would agree with you, Austin. How do you not get this game on SEC Network? I think it's complete nonsense. So, let's see. Jeff Gullis, Chris, you're a former pitcher. How much do you prepare, or how much is it you prepare for the team you're playing against versus the pitcher against yourself mentality? Does that make sense? So, I think I understand what you're asking, Jeff. So, how much is it you prepare for the team you're playing against versus like you like preparing just yourself? I think especially the game today with all the video and all the scouting reports, and you definitely take that into account. Here's what I'll say, Jeff, is that with these wrist things, these pitch caller things, I mean, they're kind of taking, like, these pitching coaches know the scouting reports probably more than anybody. So, like, they're the ones calling the pitches, and it's simply on the pitcher to execute those pitches. Now, I always like calling my own game. I really did. I think there's a beauty to the pitcher and the catcher calling their own game and going with what you're feeling. But I understand why, right? Like, the pitching coach has more information. He has those scouting reports, if you will. So, I mean, I think as a pitcher, Jeff, you have the scouting report in mind. You know where not to miss. It's like playing a golf course. You know where not to miss. You know where to miss, if you will. So I think it's one of those things, Jeff, that Will Sanders, a guy, he's just going to go out there and he's going to have their scouting report in the back of his mind, but he's just going to try to execute the best of his ability, right? He's going to try to execute the best of his ability and make pitches and hit spots, and hopefully his stuff is sharp, and you go from there. So. I think you sort of control what you can control, Jeff, and I think Will Sanders will do that tonight. So, anyways, guys, 843-790-3377. Beautiful day, too. Masters getting going today. Very, very exciting stuff. Let's see. I've got my 6 players. I'm in a Masters pool. I've got my 6 players. See how y'all feel about them. Justin Thomas, Minwoo Lee, Billy Horschel, Brian Harman, Max Homa, and Tommy Fleetwood. Those are my 6 players. Top 4 scores count. Right now, Justin Thomas is 1 under through 7. Minwoo Lee is even through 12. How about Victor Hovland leading the golf tournament at 4 under par right now? Shane Lowry is at 3 under par. Patrick Reed at 2 under par. How about Adam Scott at 2 under? How about that? Love it. Anyways, let's jump to the phone lines here.
Call from
Robbie Davis, Zaxby's Hall of Famer.
Robbie Davis, what's up, my friend? How are you?
I'm doing good. I just finished my first walk of the day, and I got over half of them done. So
beauty, love that.
I'm pretty excited about that. So I ain't gonna have to walk as long the next time I go walking later on today, because I hit 7,800 steps in less than an hour. So, and I didn't start walking until about a little after 11. So. I was getting it. I was focused, and I was just a stepping and a getting.
I love that, Robbie. Love to hear it, my friend.
So,
Body in motion stays
But,
at motion, and a body at rest stays at rest. Whatever what that means, keep it moving, my friend. Keep it moving.
oh, for sure. And I definitely think with that Will Sanders will be prepared for tonight for sure, because I'm starting to feel like with everything that's gone on the last week or so, he wants to prove that he is one of the top pitchers in the country. And what better way to do that than tonight against LSU? Against their lineup at home, he's got an opportunity to prove to all the people that he's Will Sanders, doggone it, and he's one of the best pitchers in the country.
Yeah, it's a great opportunity, Robbie, for sure. I mean, again, everybody's talking about Paul Skeens and how great he is, and he's been phenomenal for sure. But what a night it would be for Will Sanders to just remind the country, remind the SEC for sure that he's here and that he's the leader of this Gamecocks rotation. And there's a reason he was the number one guy coming in. There's a reason that he was a preseason All-American. There was a reason he's a projected first-round draft pick. It's a great opportunity for Will Sanders, man. And we know he's got the stuff. Yeah. We know what he's capable of, and you just hope that weekend off last weekend will have the positive impact that they were hoping it would. So, I'd love to see the best version of Will Sanders. You're going to need to get the best version of Will Sanders to win tonight.
Absolutely. And like you said about Blake Cooper, right? And I noticed it too back in 2010, right? That nobody was talking about him, but yet he'd go out there and just not say anything. Just go out there and just take care of business, man. And then by the end of the game, they're talking about Blake Cooper. Okay? And I remember going to a home game, a home SEC night game back in 2010, and Blake Cooper pitched the entire game, which was nuts. Mm-hmm. Okay? Because even with a lot of practice, I couldn't throw pitches for an entire game. My arm would fall off, okay? But he outpitched, I think, 2 or 3 guys that particular night, which is nuts, okay? Because a lot of times you don't see in college guys, starting pitchers, pitching the whole game. And the fact that he did that was just astonishing to me. And I mean, at the end of the season, he wound up getting a natty. So I mean, he's definitely, in my opinion, one of the best pitchers in school history.
No doubt. Blake Cooper's a legend, man. College World Series team. I've actually got his jersey hanging up right here in the studio. One of the cooler pieces in here, man. Signed by Blake. So really, really cool one.
Yeah. And like I said the other day, right? When they give us a pitch to hit, swing at the darn thing. Okay. I've always said, if I was a manager, I'd be like, I don't care what you do. Just don't go down looking. Go down. I'd rather you go down swinging than go down looking 7 days a week than going down looking 7 days a week. Okay. Take that bat off the shoulders, swing the stick, and one or two things are going to happen. You're either going to hit it or you're going to miss. Okay. But I'd rather you try than stand there like a knot on a log. All right. So whenever they give us an opportunity, hit the damn thing.
Robbie, I would pay good money to see you stand in the box against 100 miles an hour. I really would.
I would do it. I'd probably get hurt, but I don't care. I'd do it. I'd probably be scared. I'd probably be scared so bad I'd probably crap myself, but I'd do it.
Yeah, that would be fun. I'm not even kidding. We need to go talk to Paul Skeens and see if he'll throw to you. I need to see it.
But if that was to ever happen and I were to hit it, I want to keep the ball. Okay, I'm just saying. If I hit a 100-mile-an-hour ball, even if it goes foul, I want to keep it.
Robbie,
Technically,
I
did hit
will
it if that
will
was to
give
happen.
you I'll give you 100 pitches, 100 strikes at 100 miles an hour, and I'm setting the over under at one and a half on balls you even make contact with. 1.5 out of 100.
I probably
Bro, and
wouldn't.
I'd set the
wouldn't hit
over under
one
for
of them, but
me,
I would
for
try.
myself, at like 3.5, 4.5, maybe. Like,
Yeah. But at least I'd be willing to try and hit the ball.
well, you absolutely would be trying to hit the ball. Absolutely. No doubt. No doubt.
Not only am I going to try and hit the ball, but I'm going to be like, I want that $100, doggone it. I'm going to try my darndest to hit the ball. But yeah, and I think Braswell's been doing pretty well the last couple of weeks.
Mm-hmm.
He's been hitting. He hasn't been, taking good pitches. He's been hitting them whenever they're there, but sometimes you get fooled on a pitch and you wind up not swinging. But this weekend we've got to take the opportunities when they arrive, and at the end of, as I've decided to call it, of a 9-round heavyweight fight tonight, someone's got to win. So
somebody's got to win and somebody's got to lose, my friend. Somebody's got to win and somebody's got to lose.
But hopefully LSU's on the losing end and South Carolina's on the winning end at least.
Facts.
So, but we'll see. It's two of the best teams in the country. It's going to be a heck of a weekend. I wouldn't be surprised if all 3 games were sold out. And the Rowdy Roosters definitely need to show up this weekend.
And I think they will for sure. Robbie, going to be a fun weekend, my friend.
For sure. And I will see you in a week.
Mm-hmm.
I will see you in a week. Go Gamecock, and to heck with Clemson, because y'all suck, okay? Clemson sucks. Okay? They're garbage. Garbage. And DJ Ugabaduki sucks. He sucks. I mean, he transferred to Maryland, for God's sake.
Oregon State, but yes, he did transfer.
Oregon State. Well, yeah, that's what I meant to say. Oregon State. Yeah, he transferred to the Beavers, okay? Transferred to Oregon State, okay? So he obviously is not that good. For him, apparently, them saying that he was that good, he was not that good. I mean, he couldn't beat us, for crying out loud. And there was times where we looked like straight hot dog water last season. Okay? But you still got to play the games, Chris. No matter what sport it is, you got to still play the game and go and just do it. Find out who the better team is. It doesn't matter on paper.
Mm-hmm.
You still got to go on the field or on the court and do the darn thing. So,
no doubt.
All right, buddy. I'm gonna fix me some lunch, rest a little bit, and do my second walk of the day later on. So you have a great rest of your day, and I will be definitely watching the game tonight. What time's first pitch, by the way?
7 o'clock, Robbie. 7 o'clock.
All right. Thank you. All right. Have a good one.
Yeah, man. We'll talk soon, Robbie. I appreciate you.
For sure.
Yeah, man.
Thank
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Great stuff and well said as always from Robbie Davis. Guys, we're going to go ahead and jump into our first break of the day. On the other side, I want to continue to hear from you, more of your questions, your comments, your calls, and more. You're tuned in to the Daily Crow. All right, guys, we're back. Taking your questions, comments, calls. 843-790-3377. That is 843-790-3377. Again, guys, tonight, the spring tour continues. We are out at Carolina Ale House, Woodruff Road. Looking forward to hanging out with you guys once again. We will also be streaming the South Carolina LSU baseball game. Looking forward to that. Going to be a really, really good time. Also, guys, just stay tuned for tomorrow. The plan tomorrow with the game, probably going to be a doubleheader. What time is first pitch going to be? We shall see. We'll see what happens. So that's obviously going to affect, if there is a doubleheader, it will probably affect us here with the Daily Crow and just kind of what we do. I would imagine sometime today, we are going to hear what the plan is. So, unless my eyes deceive, here we go. South Carolina LSU D1 baseball staff picks are in. D1 baseball staff picks are in. There are 11 gentlemen on this staff that make picks. 10 of the 11 have picked LSU to win the series. The only one going against the grain, Aaron Fitt, is taking the Gamecocks, believe it or not. So there you go. How about that? Go prove them wrong. And again, really just at this point, hopefully they get 3 games in and we can prove them wrong. So Ethan says, fun fact, speaking of Blake Cooper, I work with his first cousin. Small world, huh? We got J.C. Sherbert upcoming at 1:15, guys. Really excited. Looking forward to having him on the air. We'll talk some recruiting, of course, a couple of days ago, wasn't it? Blake Franks. Blake Franks committed to the Gamecocks. Let's see. M. Colt disrespecting our home field from D1 baseball. Yeah, I mean, listen, they love LSU. As Austin said earlier, man, they love LSU for sure. And LSU's a good team. I get why they're getting the love, but great opportunity for the Gamecocks this weekend. I mean, a great opportunity, no doubt. So, again, we are all anxiously awaiting just what the plan is going to be for the rest of the weekend. But anyways, guys, excited either way. Appreciate you all tuning in. Of course, podcast dropped this morning, episode 773, a full breakdown of the weekend, right, on the baseball side of things. And also, I talk potential spring game opponents. You know, Shane Weaver said he'd love to play somebody else in the spring game. I pitched some ideas of who I think would be fun to go up against. Guys, also a quick update because I think there were some people that misunderstood this. 3 games in 3 days. You got 3 days to play all 3 games. They cannot play on Sunday this weekend. You cannot play on Sunday. So they've got to find a way to get all 3 of these games in by Saturday. So, Austin, I don't understand why D1 puts their mediocre content behind a paywall. I mean, I would say this, Austin. I don't think their content's mediocre. But I will say that D1 baseball, you know, do you want to know why they're able to monetize their content? They're able to monetize their content because they are covering D1 baseball. They're covering college baseball to depths and levels that nobody else is doing so. I mean, bottom line, that's the difference. That's the difference, right? They are actually going on site and watching scrimmages. Right? They're putting together fall reports and scrimmage reports, and like they've got this in-depth analysis because college baseball is so severely undercovered, if you will, right? So, for example, Austin, to your point, though, I mean, our guys over at 11.7, they don't do it full time. They absolutely could. And they absolutely should. And I know it's, our good friend Ben and Dimitri, those guys, they've got their own stuff going on. They've got work, whatever. But there's no reason why. They couldn't do it full time. I mean, they've got the following. They put out good work. I think their podcast is wildly entertaining. And they're much more cut from a cloth that like I'm cut from, right? Where they're just giving kind of raw, unfiltered opinions. I think they could probably do more. A lot of what they do right now is just reposting clips on social media and stuff like that. They could probably increase the amount that they are facing the audience, if you will, getting their face out there, getting more opinions out there, getting more clips out there. But it's tough to do that. I get that it's tough to do that when you're not doing it full time. But I mean, they got 45.7 thousand followers on Twitter. They're not even doing it full time. So I think 11.7 could be that entity that goes right up against D1 baseball. Doesn't even really have to go up against them, but just provides a different type of content and a different type of coverage. Because again, D1 baseball is more of like your traditional media entity. And 11.7 is like the Spurs Up show. 11.7 is your more raw, unfiltered, sort of off the wall, content that everybody can relate to type of deal. So that's just my opinion. I don't know if Ben and Dimitri would agree with me, but that's how I see it. So I think they do great work. I think they do a great job. But D1 baseball certainly has a role. D1 baseball has a role. And I mean, I will say this is someone that, I mean, listen, man, now that I don't live in Columbia, I lean on D1baseball.com for a lot of their off-season reports, and they've seen the team and I haven't, and, getting intel on certain players. I mean, they do a good job in that regard. Austin Greer says, shame Barstool doesn't have a college baseball podcast. I mean, Austin, it's a shame they don't have like an SEC podcast. I mean, do they, unless I'm missing that? I mean, do they even – I know they've got that college football show with Brandon Walker, but they don't have like SEC specific content. Not really. At least not that I'm familiar with. Anyways, Austin Greer, Brandon Walker is the only decent personality on that podcast. Yeah, I've tried to get Brandon Walker on our show, and he said he was down, and then I just never heard from him again. So I don't know. I don't know what the deal with that was, but whatever. Anyways, it's all good. It's all good. No biggie at all. Big Game Boomer, of course, known for his list, dropped a list, top 50 best college baseball uniforms. He's got the Gamecocks 39th. And I'll say this. I respect the hell out of what BGB does, and he's built an incredible following on social media. 77.8 thousand followers on Twitter. But you look at like a list like this. Ohio, UConn. I mean, and there's some Gonzaga, Wichita State. There's some lists that come out. I'm like, there's just no way you've sifted through every single one of these teams and every single one of these players, which really is not what it's about. Again, I respect the hustle and the grind of BGB because I feel like making lists, it's more so about, it's not about being right. It's about being willing to stand behind your list. If you can do that, you can make a list of anything. Like, truly. But having the Gamecocks 39th on uniforms and Clem Sucks is 10th? Get out of here, bro. I'm sorry. That's trash. Having Carolina that low is it's wild. It's personal preference, but it's nuts. Blake Seaborn, I did see where you bought those shirts. Thank you so much, Blake. I truly appreciate you. Brendan, what's up? What's going on, man? Appreciate you. Appreciate you tuning in, Brendan. Here comes Austin with the hot takes. He says the camouflage hats are heinous. So you're not a fan of the camo, Austin. I'll say this. I don't hate it. It's not my favorite. It's not, it's not my favorite, but if that's something they can rally around this year and they like doing the camo, I wouldn't make it, Austin, a yearly thing. I wouldn't make it an every year thing. But, I don't think it looked bad. Let's see. SEC football, toughest non-conference games for each team in 2023, Brad Cooper. I mean, we know what South Carolina's is going to be. We obviously know which one it is for the Gamecocks. Lynn Turner, what's going on? Appreciate you tuning in. She says, dude, we have some great unis and the camo hat looks good. And I'm not usually a camo girl. ESPN, you got $10 to build your food order at the Masters. $10 to build your food order. What are you going with? I'll probably go. I'll take an iced tea. That's $2. I got $8 left. I will go 2 pimento cheese sandwiches. So that's $3. So we're at $5. I'll go with the Georgia peach ice cream sandwich. And we're at $7.50. So what? I've got $2.50 left. I've got $2.50 left. I will go with fresh mixed fruit, and I'll tell them to keep the change. Keep the 50 cents. There you go. Wow. John Rahm is at 3 under after doubling the first hole. Wow. Isn't that something? Anyways, guys, we're in hour number 2. JC Sherbert upcoming at 1:15. Just over a week away from the Garnet and Black spring game. We will talk a lot of spring game next week. Looking forward to it, guys. Looking forward to it. TDC will look much different next week, by the way. It'll look much different. We will be on the road in Hilton Head Island, South Carolina. So the setup for TDC will be much different. Not even sure we're going to go live on Monday. Tuesday, Wednesday, we'll go live 10 to 12. And then Thursday, no show either. Friday, we'll be right back here in studio. Going to be a really fun show as we preview the spring game the following day. So, Josh, no, they cannot play Sunday. It's not because of Easter. It's because in the SEC, apparently there's some rule. You have 3 days to play 3 games. So if you start on Thursday, you've only got till Saturday to play all 3. I don't understand why the rule is that way. I don't get it at all. I'm as perplexed as you are, my friend. I'm as perplexed as you are. I am as perplexed as you are. Let's see. Anyways, guys, I've got LSU taking 2 of 3 this week, and I think it's going to be a great series, guys. I think no matter what happens, assuming we get all 3 games in, South Carolina will not that they need to prove this because they're ranked 6th in the country. Like, I think the Gamecocks have got a lot of respect. But South Carolina is going to show, I think they will go toe-to-toe with the number 1 team in college baseball. I don't think this is a ball club that will be intimidated in any way. I think they're chomping at the bit. I think they've got a chip on their shoulder. I think they're looking forward to showing what they're made of. And I think that will happen. And I think even if you do lose 2 of 3, I think a lot of good can come from this weekend. I think this can be a confidence-building weekend. I'm not sitting here saying let's accept moral victories or be pumping our chest if we lose 2 of 3. But I think no matter what, I think what you're going to see is a ball club that this is one of the best teams in college baseball. And I think the Gamecocks will prove that, whether they win 2 of 3, lose 2 of 3, or some other result in between. I think that is what you will see for all 3 games. Again, assuming they play all 3. Assuming they get in all 3. Hopefully they do. Hopefully they do. I'm really excited for it. I mean, you know, South Carolina's hitters are, again, they're excited. They're fired up, right? They're excited. They're fired up, looking forward to, looking forward to having the opportunity to face off against the Paul Skeens. So. Anyways, guys, we'll go ahead and jump into the break, guys. On the side, we'll take some of your questions. Then we'll have J.C. Sherbert of Inside the Gamecocks. He will join us. All that and more on the other side. You're tuned in to the Daily Crow. All right, guys, we're back. Taking your questions, comments, calls, 843-790-3377. That's 843-790-3377. Also, JC Sherbert, upcoming in 5 minutes, guys. Again, thank you all so much for tuning in. Appreciate the love on the merchandise side of the business, the podcast, the Daily Crow, social media, and everything in between, guys. Really grateful for each and every single one of you. Was watching the Masters during the break. And yeah, love it. Love it. Great time of year to be a sports fan. That is for sure. This is a great time of year to be a sports fan, for sure. Let's see. Blake says, my wife is from New Orleans and her family are big LSU fans. We need this series for my well-being. At least my son is a Gamecock. I love that. You raised him right, Blake. Good job. You raised him right, my friend. Very good. Very good indeed. Very good indeed. Let's see. Brendan, I appreciate you, my friend. All your hard work in the Discord. All your hard work. FanDuel has dropped their college football playoff national title odds. Georgia, the overwhelming favorite at plus 220. Bama plus 500. Ohio State plus 700. Michigan at plus 1,000. Southern Cal plus 1,600. Florida State plus 1,800. LSU plus 1,800. Also, Clem sucks plus 2,000, as well as Penn State plus 2,000. Then at plus 3,000, you got Texas, Oregon, Notre Dame, Washington, and Tennessee. So the Gamecocks are not listed. Yeah, LSU currently ranked number 1 in the country. Number 1 in the country. So a damn good ball club, but again, a great opportunity for South Carolina tonight. Going to be really fun to watch this lineup against Paul Skeens. I mean, it really is. It's going to be a lot of fun. We've all heard about him, just how good he is, electric, but, we'll see. I mean, South Carolina's got a really good lineup, very potent, very dangerous, and at Founders Park, I mean, you never know. You never know, man. So wouldn't that be something? Be a huge game 1 win if you can get this one. So let's see. Get this, LSU pitching is tied for the second fewest home runs allowed in the league. So that's something definitely to keep an eye on. Can South Carolina continue to rely on the home run, or will they have to find another way? Will they have to find another way? Another great series, too. Tennessee, Florida. That's another really, really good one. Alabama, Mississippi State. Georgia, Kentucky. Missouri, and Vandy. That'll be a really good one. Auburn, Texas A&M, and Ole Miss and Arkansas. Some really good baseball in the league this weekend, no doubt. Some really good baseball for sure. Guys, again, thank you all so much for tuning in. Bit of a slower Thursday, but an exciting Thursday. It's game day tonight. 3-game series. Gamecocks are scheduled to play Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. I think we all know that Saturday's not happening. So Let's see. Yeah, and as we await, I would imagine sometime today we will get an answer in regards to the schedule for tomorrow. I mean, you would think they're going to give people ample time to prepare and get ready for the series this weekend. Guys, that being said, of course, he joins us every single Thursday at 1:15. Really excited to chat with JC Shurburtt of Inside the Gamecocks. Let's go ahead and get him on. JC, what is going on, my friend? First things first, appreciate you having me on the show Inside the Gamecocks this morning, and glad to have you on our show once again, my friend. How are you?
Yeah, it's great. You guys, I didn't have to say much today because there's a lot of golf talk, and I just sat back and listened. And in Illinois, sports gambling is not illegal. And so I have an app, Barstool Sports app, for anybody that's in Illinois. And so I'm sitting there listening to all you guys making my Masters picks, right? So I appreciate that insight. It ups the stakes for me while I'm taking a nap to Jim Nantz on Sunday afternoon. But no, seriously, what a great weekend it is. It does. This weekend is one that sticks. It makes me want to be back in the South pretty bad. I know the weather is an issue with the baseball game and the tournament as well. But certainly what a special weekend it is, and lots going on. You know, baseball, you got basketball recruiting, football recruiting, and the Masters and all that. So great segment we had earlier, and looking forward to this one.
For sure, JC. Let's start there with the football recruiting and such. Blake Franks does pick the Gamecocks. That happened on Friday, and I know that was something that I think you expected for sure, and the significance of landing a kid in the upstate Greenville High School. And I know you spoke highly on him. Let's keep it rolling with that, though. Yesterday, it was reported by On3 that Florida State transfer edge Derek McClendon, it was currently visiting South Carolina yesterday. You look at his numbers, you look at his measurables. Pretty solid last year for Florida State. Now, I think that most of us thought, or some of us thought at least, transfer portal May 1st is when it opens up. Didn't expect to hear that news yesterday, I guess, if you will, but Shane Beamer and company keep it going, keep it working. What can you tell us about Derek McClendon and anything else recruiting related? I know obviously right now is a hot time to get guys on campus, stuff like that. Any updates in recruiting? And of course, the McClendon thing, your thoughts on that?
Sure, Dad. These guys like Derek McClendon, AJ Kongpachan, I think it's a Laotian last name, the linebacker from Utah State who came in earlier this week, and then Tank Booker, a defensive tackle from Maryland. The reason these guys, Chris, are able to visit right now is they're graduate transfers, and I guess the rules are different with grad trans. They can just come and go as they please, I guess, and so that's why there's these official visits right now before the May 1st portal opening. But you know, you look at Derek McClendon. And he was productive last year. My understanding is the reason he left Florida State is they're going to be so deep on the D line this year, Chris. They're going to roll everybody, as you should. Rotate. His snaps are going down. I don't think he liked that too much. He wanted more snaps. Obviously, I think 3.5 sacks isn't first round material. I think he feels like he could put up better numbers someplace else. And here's the thing about this kid too. He's from Tucker High School. Right outside of Atlanta. That's been a school that's been pretty good to South Carolina recently. Dylan Wanham, Tucker High School, Josh Vann, Tucker High School. That was the old staff that recruited there pretty well. But I think, you know, the Gamecocks are right there with McClendon, and you know, I'd say they're in pretty good shape. Pong Pachan, AJ, we'll call him AJ. A surprise visitor to me, but man, Chris, this kid can play. This is the type of kid that previously would play out the string at Utah State, and then all of a sudden you're sitting there. He gets drafted, 5th round, something, and one day you're sitting there on Sunday at Buffalo Wild Wings or wherever watching your fantasy team, and you know number 52 is just lighting people up. And who in the hell's that? Well, that's this kid from Utah State, you know. And now, you know, of course, with the portal, guys can move up a level and compete in the SEC before they go to the NFL. So 6'3", 230, he's from Pasco, Washington, which is southeastern Washington. He has visited Washington State. If he wants to go home, obviously, Pullman, I think, 20 minutes from there, from where he's from. Now, if he wants to play in the SEC and come across the country, then I think South Carolina's right there. That guy had 101 tackles last year, man. He's a striker. And then I mentioned Tank Booker, who visited last week from Maryland, from Cincinnati, Ohio originally. The competition seems a little more stiff for him. Texas A&M's in it. Arkansas is in it. That he's a 6'4", 320-pound defensive lineman. You know, Carolina's D tackles are good. I think they're perfectly fine going into the next season with what they've got, but they don't have a lot of guys like this. You know, you got Nick Barrett there, 6'3", 330, 6'2", 330, and then you got a Xavier McLeod as a true freshman at 6'5", 320. This is one of those run pluggers. This is one of those guys that if they do get in a jam at edge and maybe there's some injuries or they don't have the depth there and you need to play more three-man front, this is a guy that can play that zero technique and play it well. Also can play three technique and play it well. Just a kind of like a grown man on the inside. And the more guys you have like that, the better, obviously. So right now, there's that trio of grad transfer portal guys that Carolina's kind of focused in on. All three, I think, would add a lot. If they got all three, that'd be great. I don't know that they'll do that. But if you get two of the three or any of the three, really, Chris, that gives you at least one guy at a position where you need it. And you need a guy like that. So in other words, that will increase the options and the overall personnel talent level for Clayton White. And what you and I both have talked about, it's a big year for him on defense. So, you start shoring some of those positions up with some of this older talent. I think that bodes well, not only for now, but for the future, because you don't have to throw guys out there to lose their confidence or whatever. So I think it's, these three should excite everybody, even though they may not be household names. I think, McClendon, AJ, and Tank, all three should excite Gamecock fans if and when Carolina does get them.
Now, JC, obviously it's really tough and nearly impossible to draw any conclusions from spring practice, I'm sure, for even coaches, but surely, media like yourself and others that follow the team that aren't there watching practice necessarily, but South Carolina did scrimmage over the weekend, and Shane spoke to the media. Anything you're hearing or any takeaways specifically that's standing out to you right now? I was kind of surprised how quiet it was, but I tell people, I feel like in the spring, no news is good news, because typically when there's big news, it's bad news. You know what I mean? So, I'm not mad at all that it's a quiet spring, if you will. Knock on wood, everybody's been pretty healthy and what have you. And according to Shane Beamer, things when I think pretty much status quo, mentioned that the offense only had one turnover, but it's one of those things, right? It's like, well, good job offense, bad job defense, or good job defense, bad job offense. But is there anything to this point, anything you guys may have heard that stood out from that scrimmage on Saturday?
Yeah, I talked to a couple of contacts, and my staff at the Big Spur obviously talked to a couple of contacts, and the two guys that really were mentioned to me, I'll give you an older guy and a younger guy, but both of them are new. Trey Knox at tight end, the kid from Arkansas. This doesn't surprise me, Chris, because when we were all kind of back there, I guess preparing for the season, we talked to our Arkansas guy, and I know you talked to some Arkansas media people, and Knox was a name that kept coming up with them. He had 7 touchdown receptions this year, probably not as many catches as he wanted, but they had quarterback issues and all that. They say he's a grown man. I mean, 6'5", 250, runs in the 4.5 range. Nothing against Jaheim Bell. I always think highly of Jaheim Bell, and I wish Jaheim Bell was still at Carolina, to be honest, and I wish they'd figure out a better way to use him. But this guy, as far as just a tight end goes, not a jack of all trades, just a tight end, he's better, more suited for that because of his size and kind of just what he is. So I've heard good things about him. I've heard Pup Howard, who just got back from injury, had a good scrimmage, and they really think that the quote I got was he's definitely an SEC linebacker. And we always talk about the linebackers around here. Most of the time, in most years, they're okay. But I think a lot of people kind of, just like it gets people excited that they're recruiting all these elite offensive line recruits. I think recruiting more elite linebacker recruits would make people happy. And I think that's he's one I think you can circle. Pup Howard has done really, really well. And I'll tell you this may be boring and a no-duh thing, but Spencer Rattler's had a really good spring. Seems a lot more comfortable with what they're doing, a lot more comfortable in the system that Dowell Loggins is kind of running. I think, while there are some similarities to what Marcus Satterfield was doing, the execution of it and how they operate, the operational aspects of it are much easier and make offensive players a lot more comfortable at the college level. So that's a good thing there. Eddie Lewis, Amarian Brown, Josh Simon on offense have all had good things. And then probably the most surprising thing to me, Chris, and Montario Hardesty said it in his press conference earlier today, they're not too worried about running back. And Dakereon Joyner has really taken to the position. I didn't know if that would work out. And I got to give John Whittle a lot of credit because he called this back in like 2019 or 2020. I thought Dakereon, I said, look, well, he's got good size to do it. I think he's tough enough to do it. I think he's got the vision to do it. But most of his big plays have been at quarterback. And there's just instinctively, he does so much good naturally at quarterback. How is that going to translate to getting the ball from scrimmage? Because I didn't think it translated that well to receiver, quite frankly. Well, it's translated pretty well. And they're not, you talk to people around there, they're not even worried about running back. I mean, I'm sure they're going to try to add a couple from the portal for depth reasons. But he's really come on, and that's been a move. You hear about these position moves sometimes, and they don't always work. But this apparently, based on practice and scrimmages, has worked. And it's, quite frankly, it's something that I'm looking forward to seeing in the spring game is Dakereon Joyner carrying the ball from scrimmage. And boy, what a story, Chris, if he ends up, being really good at running back this year for the Gamecocks in this final year. That would just be icing on the cake to what's been a career full of great storylines for him.
JC, what would you put the percentage at that when the Gamecocks take the field against North Carolina, Dakereon Joyner is RB1?
That's a good one because I'm a big Mike Anderson guy, and I don't think it's a terrible idea to start Juju. I just don't think you can run in between the tackles 10 times. He wears out. It's one thing that Marcus Satterfield said last year that spot on. Juju wears out in games. I'd probably say 65% right now. We'll go with that. Because there's also, there's some intangibles there with him as far as the leadership he brings and the different things he can do. And I could be wrong, but I'll probably right now call him the favorite. I don't know that he'll start the spring game. I think that'll probably be McDowell. But by the time we get to fall, you could see it. You could see it. And boy, yeah. If I'm an opposing defensive coordinator, number 5's now the running back. Wow, will it be like the Savell Newton usage by Spurrier for the one game in 2005 before Savell got hurt that was magical? I don't know. Yeah. I don't know what will happen, but I do think Dakereon Joyner could be the starting running back for this team, depending. So but right now, without them getting anybody from the portal, whatever, 65%.
Mm-hmm. And it is tough to predict, too, because a lot of guys will play, and one guy could literally start the game and come out the next play, and somebody else go in. So you never know. But it's a fun thing to talk about.
Remember Rico Dowdle, in the Florida game in 19?
Yeah.
Carries it one time, 9 yards, hurts his foot, and he's out for the rest of the game. Everybody was always getting hurt back then. But then Tavian Feaster had his best game as a Gamecock. I think 200-something yards, and old Mon Denson, who was a Gator killer. I don't think Florida ever stopped Mon Denson the whole time he was here. Comes in and runs for like 70. So you just never know. You just never know who's going to step up.
JC, I want to change directions a little bit with the conversation because I listened to a great combo that our friend Michael Bratton of that SEC podcast had with Shannon Terry, somebody I'm sure you're very familiar with, founder, and he's genius. Founder of, Rivals 24/7 On 3, if you will, is his latest venture. But I found his comments, to hear somebody who's directly in the space talking about NIL and the collectives. And obviously you are someone with Carolina Rise. I believe you own the collective, correct? I'm giving you the correct label when I say that, right?
Yeah, my brother and I co-own it. So,
Okay. So a co-owner of a collective. So I thought this would be really cool to talk about with someone that, again, is a co-owner of a collective, because he brought up a lot of interesting things about just, NIL, and very clearly said, like, we're in the second inning of this thing. Like, it's just getting started. And some of the numbers he threw around I thought were interesting in the sense of, he mentioned that 14% of the money from collectives is going to high school recruits. 86% is going to current players, like on current rosters. And he even mentioned that, like, the transfer portal class this last cycle was weak because guys are getting these different type of packages and deals to stay at their schools. Like, there were obviously good players in the portal, but he just spoke obviously as a whole in college football. Like, the portal class was not great. There were not a ton of impact guys, if you will. And so I guess I just open the floor up to you, man, and talk about NIL and the collectives and, like, what do you think the future of it is? Because the way he spoke, obviously, and I think we can all agree and we know, like, this is something when I tell fans, like, if you're not comfortable with NIL and collectives and the portal even, like the changes to college football, you better find a way to do so because it's not going anywhere. I mean, it's only picking up steam and momentum. And, again, we'd just love to hear your thoughts and perspective as the co-owner of a collective in regards to where NIL is right now and just the future of it as a whole.
Yeah, and somebody knows Shannon pretty well too. I was the first person, or second person in the door at 24/7 Sports, and worked with him at Rivals as well. And certainly, there's probably nobody in the business that I have more like total respect for. I'm a pretty smart guy, and I think that Shannon's probably smarter than me. Sometimes that's tough for me to admit, but he's right. And I'll say this, like with Carolina Rise, as far as like newcomers go, like recruits that come in, we really haven't done much. The guys from the portal that have come in, there are some one-time things, and a lot of times it's, this guy needs an NIL deal. Number one, he's an older player, but number two, he's moving here. He's got these expenses and blah, 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 and all that good stuff. And I think that's perfectly fine. People may say, well, that's not what it's supposed to be. But, as long as the kid has value and we were going to give him an NIL deal anyway, what's wrong with doing it a month before you were going to do it anyway? Because so he could move into his apartment. To me, that's like my boss at Columbia at Sammy's Deli. He used to give me $20-$40 to go out on Friday when payday is really Sunday. And he just write it down because he knew I needed it because I was a college kid. Okay. So things like that. But most of what we do and what Garnet Trust does, and people may not believe this, but we, with the two collectives, we work together. We figure it out. It's all about what's best for Carolina in that space. I know that was Garnet Trust was founded by a competitive website of thebigspur.com, and I also own thebigspur.com and blah, 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 blah. There's no rivalry with us and Garnet Trust. We work all together with all sports. Jeremy, who runs it, I consider him a friend. I respect him. He's got integrity. I like working with people like that, as you guys all know. And he, we all work together. So very little goes into actually going out and saying, well, when you get to campus, you get 75,000, right? And in fact, we're not allowed to even promise anybody that. How it does impact recruiting directly, though, is, they know that here's what the budget is opportunity-wise for you around here. You come here, this is probably hypothetically what you can, if you take care of business, what you can expect, that kind of thing. So it does impact recruiting. Don't get me wrong. Shannon, he probably should not downplay the impact it has on recruiting. And I think he's probably using numbers from like some of the collectives that do operate that way, like we do. I'm saying it's the right way because it's within the rules. I think some of them don't, quite frankly. Miami is probably, I would guess, not to accuse anybody, but I guess that would be one. I think Texas A&M probably learned its lesson last year as far as how they were divvying up the cash. Because in football, that can affect your locker room. You have a guy that just got here and you got a fifth, and in some cases because of COVID, 6-year guys, 7th-year guys out there. Who's this 18-year-old? Get off my lawn. that kind of thing, if he's making more money than you. And so, yeah, a lot of it is like that. And a lot of it, is about player retention. And you almost have to. And in South Carolina, boy, I'm proud of what we've done with Carolina Rise. I'm proud of Garnet Trust and what they've done. I'm proud of the Gamecock Nation for stepping up. We still need more. Everybody needs more. You guys go out and join. Come to the fundraisers we got at the end of April or whatever. Support Garnet Trust, whatever. Still need more. But it's turned around thanks to the people that are here and that get it. And Carolina's roster, has stayed intact for the most part. And I can tell you this right now, like with Jordan Birch, guys, it wasn't that Oregon offered him a much bigger NIL deal than South Carolina. In fact, the two NIL deals were probably competitive. Gilbert Edmond, I think sometimes in that situation, Chris, you got to sometimes kind of play like a general manager and say, okay, if you can get it, great. And that sucks because that's a position. Those two that gutted that position a little bit. But Birch didn't leave because there was because he's out there on the Emerald Coast getting rich. Okay, and that's another thing. Marshawn Lloyd. I'm gonna go through the guys they lost. Marshawn Lloyd made plenty of NIL money at South Carolina. I do think there is a difference with what Southern Cal does, and I think with Lloyd, and I've said it on the show a couple of times. I haven't written it out. Think about this. Remember Jordan Addison, Chris, from Pitt, that left Pitt high and dry in the middle of the night and went to SC. You look at where's he from? He's from Maryland, D.C. Guess who else is from Maryland, D.C.? Caleb Williams and his dad. And where's Marshawn Lloyd from? He's from Delaware, but he went to school right there at DeMatha in D.C. And there were people involved with that situation that nobody at South Carolina had ever dealt with, from what I was told. So I don't know. Is that tampering? Is the fact that Caleb Williams' dad or whoever's up there in D.C. getting the D.C. kids to go out to L.A.? I don't know. I just know it kind of happened out of nowhere, and I certainly wish Marshawn Lloyd the best. And then Jaheim Bell probably had one foot out the door. Definitely had one foot out the door anyway, from everything I've been told, probably since the Missouri game, just because he didn't like playing the position that he ended up at running back at all, and he didn't like with how they were using him at tight end. And it was a situation where he was extremely frustrated, and so that was sort of, for lack of a better term, expected. So you even look at the guys that have left. Nobody's just gotten bought right out of South Carolina. And so Shannon's absolutely right. And I think that's a lot of what it's about. And I'll tell you this, Carolina Rise grew, I think tripled in size membership wise the day Jaheim hit the portal. And I think fans realize that sometimes it's not necessarily about recruiting so much as it is retention and guarding against your current players, which obviously are more valuable than some high school kid. South Carolina's recruiting high school kids, fine. What you don't want to have happen is these guys come and they're like, oh, well, Alabama is paying this, so I'm going to go over there. You need to take care of them. And for years, Chris, the one thing a lot of former players here told me, right until about the Spurrier era and maybe a little bit into it, South Carolina does not take care of its players. Well, guess what? Now South Carolina takes care of its players, and it's going to get even better moving forward. So that's something that every Gamecock fan out there can be proud of, because I think if fans knew back in the day, or we had this back in the day, that they could directly impact that South Carolina would be known for taking care of their players. But it's just for whatever reason hadn't happened to this point. I'm sorry for the long-winded explanation, but that's a great question and something I can literally talk all day about.
No, I think it's fascinating, JC. When you say not take care of the players, do you mean like while they're currently on campus, like not having like the basic necessities of like
I don't know. I don't know. Take care of their players.
Not having what other schools have. We'll just leave it at that.
Maybe other schools were a little bit more. Some other schools that maybe have apartment style housing that
Right.
Kid comes home from practice and there's some cash on the table, or the groceries in the fridge. There's a 70-inch color TV set up. Where's that come from? I don't know. Is it part of the housing plan, meal plan? I don't know.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and I'm not saying, there's all kinds of things that happen around college football, but and keep in mind too, for years the facilities were not that good. So
Yeah.
in that situation too, that's another part of it. Well, now you got the facilities, you got the financial with NIL. South Carolina has that academic money they give their players, even walk-ons. It's as we are finding out with recruiting, Chris. It's a pretty good place for a football player to be right now, and I think everybody from fans on down need to pat themselves on the back for it, because it hadn't always been that way.
Yeah, and get out to the spring game too. Another opportunity with a lot of recruits in town. I know we'll talk about that next week, obviously, but a great opportunity to impress those recruits and show off Willie B as one of the best atmospheres in college football. Speaking of the spring game, JC, I definitely want to get your thoughts on the comments from Shane Beamer and Hugh Freeze. They've spoken on, and Shane Beamer, this is something he's been preaching for forever, but playing an exhibition, playing a preseason game. You and I may have talked about this at some point, but I'll bring it back to the forefront since it was brought to our attention. Your just overall thoughts, and how would you like to see the Gamecocks scrimmage or exhibition a Furman, a Charleston Southern, a Citadel, one of those teams? How would you like to see that in the spring game versus just going up against yourself? Good idea, bad idea? And some had mentioned, could the money potentially, I know Hugh Freeze said charity. Some people said NIL. I feel like that would maybe get a little tricky. But just overall thoughts on the idea that Shane Beamer, Hugh Freeze, and others have proposed.
As a fan and someone that does what we do, I would love it. I would get so fired up.
Great,
man. Because we sit there the minute the season ends, and I remember January 30th, and even you're like, man, it's a long way. It's this dark, long period. We talk everything else to death for 352 days, and it gives us another day of actual football, right? Mm-hmm. And they're right. Every other sport does it. Every other sport, even high school, man. You have maybe 2 scrimmages, a jamboree. So you've played against 3 different opponents before you have your first real game. The NFL, there's 3 exhibition games now. Even college basketball has the secret scrimmages where they go and play another team.
And even baseball even baseball in the fall, they'll South Carolina's intersquad at Georgia Tech and UNC Wilmington and
NC State,
it happens all the time.
I would love to see it, and I think it would be great for college football, and they'd all be on TV. Obviously, here's the problem. There's 2 problems. Number one is the injury factor. You don't want your best player, and look. The same people that gripe about bowl games. I mean, bottom line is there's very few injuries that take place in bowl games. So there'd probably be very few injuries that take place in the spring game. But it would happen, and it would be high profile, and then everybody's like, you know how they go on and on with that. So the injury factor is something. And I think too, Chris, though, that if you're playing it as a scrimmage or an exhibition, and if one of your guys is the least little bit banged up, you're not going to play them. It's just like preseason NFL. Well, here's the other problem. So you got like these coaches are getting fired quicker and quicker and quicker, right? What happens when a guy goes into the next year and he's on the hot seat, and maybe like a lot of his frontline guys are banged up, and then Furman comes in with their starters. And ends up boat racing you in a scrimmage at your own stadium, you're going to get fired after losing a scrimmage. And trust me, man, Frank Martin in basketball lost a scrimmage to Augusta College. One of those exhibition games that didn't even count. People were wanting to fire him. That's going to be a big issue there. So I think if you don't want to go full contact, what would be interesting is you set it up like the Nike camps that I used to cover every Saturday of my life for, thank God I don't have to do that anymore, for 10 to 12 straight years in the spring. You go see it, have a 7-on-7. Play Furman in 7-on-7. I mean, high schools play 7-on-7, and then on the opposite end of the field, or before, have a lineman one-on-one challenge where you're like scoring points for offense, defense, wins like a wrestling match. and total up the score and declare a winner. And you don't do any of that. The lineman would be helmet, shoulder pads, and shorts. And then, of course, probably that for the 7-on-7 too. I don't know if you go helmets with 7-on-7 or not, but maybe those old school looking padded things. But that would be cool. And then at least, Chris, you're getting a look against an opponent. Your play caller is out there dissecting your quarterback's able to read coverages in those scenarios. It's not real football. Maybe fans wouldn't get into it. I don't know. But if you're looking for kind of a middle ground that would accomplish the actual football aspect of what a scrimmage would, and you want to avoid getting hurt or getting fired, go with 7-on-7. If not, I also thought, eventually they're going to have to do something about the bowls. Play bowl games in the spring, man. I mean, why not do that? It'll give you 15 practices to get ready for bowl, 15 to get ready for the spring bowl game. I don't know. But they could make it a little more creative. And I know this too. College basketball, Chris, is about to move to summer play, where they have like NBA summer league style play. The big push with college basketball coaches for that. So with football, I think it would make sense to have some, small competitiveness in the spring, just like you do with baseball in the fall, and they're going to do basketball in the summer. I think that's coming, and I'm all for it, man. The more college sports, the better.
Yeah, I was going to say, as a content creator and as a fan, I love the idea. That is hilarious. I mean, I don't think I've heard anybody else state that. I had never even thought about that, about these coaches on the hot seat. Like, can you imagine like, I don't know, man, Muschamp spring of 2020. If 2020 would have went through, like, could you imagine if they'd like scrimmaged Appalachian State? Like, and like you lose it. I don't know.
And then lost.
That is so funny to think about that could affect like a coach's job status. Because eventually at some point it would happen to where a coach would get fired after the spring game. Like,
Brian Harsin at Auburn is the prime example of that.
They're just looking for any reason. They're looking for any reason to get rid of him.
Tried to run him out, and then Samford comes to Jordan Hare and cuts him, and he's out after the spring game. Man.
And then we get like 5-10 years down the road, and they're starting to keep track of it. And they're like, Auburn's 0-4 in their last 4 spring games. Like it's a game that doesn't even count, but that would be hysterical because we track everything. That would be so funny.
You could do it like even do like a high school style jamboree. Like go to the Mercedes-Benz and get 8 SEC teams to play 2 quarters. I don't know. Then you're playing a conference team, and then everybody's pissed off if you lose to Mississippi State or whatever. But I mean, there's all kinds of creative way they could do it. But the 2 problems I see: injuries are number 1, and then number 2. It's the visceral reaction to a loss that would
that's what I was gonna say though, JC. Like I feel like, and I know I was at that scrimmage or that exhibition you're talking about when they lost to Augusta, when men's basketball lost to Frank Martin. But like there was a reaction, but like I don't feel like there's nearly as much. Like when basketball exhibitions so and baseball certainly scrimmages somebody, like there's really no thought about it. Like why would there be some crazy like reaction with football? Like if you're right though. You're right. Like if you were to scrimmage, if Carolina next year said, okay, we're going to go scrimmage Wofford, right? Let's just say Wofford, and Wofford runs that option. And they run for like 250 on you. It wouldn't just be like, okay, it was just a scrimmage. People would be freaking out. Like, it'd be hilarious, low key though. It really would.
It's because we don't have enough college football in our lives, right? And it's like, because you have 30 basketball games, you have 56 baseball games. The NFL has plenty of games. NFL fans are kind of trained about that, but not in college football. You have people that get mad about the spring game. Defensive backs better stepping up and about 700 yards today. And you don't even think about. I mean, think about the hype around, and I think the hype ended up being justified because I thought Jason actually was probably the better choice at quarterback after Doty broke his foot. But think about the hype Jason Brown and EJ Jenkins got for those 2 touchdown passes, and nobody's even looking at the numbers on the jerseys when he threw them. Yeah. But they were like nothing but walk-ons, guys that I
remember that one touchdown EJ Jenkins called. It taking nothing away from him, but like he was 6'7". I think the guy defending him was like literally 5'9".
Like, 5'9", dude, just had no chance.
Right.
And think about that. I mean, so and how much we overblow things sometimes as fans. And it's just because we don't have enough of it. You know, you just don't have that many game days in that sport. And so another game. And look, you could also go the other direction, Chris, and play another equal opponent and make it count. And then you got a game, and we just have one game in the spring and 13, 12 in the fall. Hey, they're trying to, as they add more playoff rounds, they're trying to figure that out anyway. Why not? Why not have a week negative 20? You know,
I love
week
it. I
negative
love
20.
I cannot get over the thought of a coach getting fired after a spring game.
It'll happen. Don't get me wrong. And I mentioned Auburn. I would put 3-1 odds on it happening at Auburn. That's
they'll be airing the spring game, and you'll see like they'll pan to the crowd. And people have signs with like fire freeze or whatever.
Fire now.
It's literally just get it over with, right? Give us the summer to find a new coach. JC, we've gotten to this point somehow without talking about Gamecocks LSU, a massive series at Founders Park this weekend as number 1 comes to town. Fingers crossed that Mother Nature cooperates or South Carolina tomorrow is able to get the games in. I know JB hinted when I was on you guys' show, and I'm sure he told you even more about an early start tomorrow because they're going to try to play all 3. I mean, you can't not try to play them. You got 3 days to play 3 games. Saturday looks like a total wash. Tomorrow, later in the afternoon, or just really in the afternoon, looks pretty bad. So I would expect them probably to get that doubleheader going noon, maybe earlier. I mean, I'd be down with some morning baseball. I'd be down with some morning baseball personally. Hey, do it like travel ball and play at 8 a.m. Why not? I'm
just
down.
Do it.
Wake up with some coffee in the yard, Cox. That sounds like the next great podcast, actually.
I am down with that.
Yeah. So, anyways, though, looking at the series, face Paul Skeens tonight, your just overall thoughts on a huge weekend at Founders.
Wow. I mean, the pitcher they're facing tonight's unbelievable, obviously. And then you have a good storyline there, and Will Sanders making his return. And obviously his stuff's not been as good as he would have hoped this year. But I think, someone pointed out to me today on thebigspur.com that sometimes guys that are in that draft eligible year, they kind of overthink it and they get away with what made him great. I don't know of any athlete in any sport at any time when he overthinks it and presses that's good. Yeah, the great ones block it out, or the great ones get through it and get over it. It happens a lot, though, especially at the college level. So I think Will just needs to go out there and clear his mind and play. I think he's got the stuff to be good against a very good LSU's not just a pit. I mean, they're very good at hitting the ball, too. Very good lineup in the Tigers. They're number 1 for a reason. I think it's important that, with Skeens on the mound, if he does get into trouble, I think Mark Kingston will probably go to the bullpen quickly, because I think, number 1, Carolina's bullpen is probably the strength of the team right now. I think, number 2, you're probably not playing more than 2 games in this series, and maybe just 1, and you need to do it like everything you can to win it. And you're not probably going to scratch that much against the big guy. So if you get behind 2-0 or something, I think you'll see a James Hicks or whoever come out of the bullpen pretty quick. But, let's hope that doesn't happen. I mean, my hope for not just the Gamecocks, but Will Sanders personally, because he is a really good pitcher with good stuff and a projected draft pick, that he comes out and bounces back for the rest of the season and plays like he's capable. I think South Carolina has the right mentality. If we watch it and how they've battled this year at the plate. The North Carolina game, man, they weren't doing much, but they kept battling, Chris. And that's like those old timey Ray Tanner teams that just battle you. You're not really worried if you're like last couple of years around here, you get to the 7th inning, nothing. It's about to be 6-0 the other team, right? But back in the day, nobody worried when it was 0-0 in the 7th, and that's what made the program great. And I get that same feeling. Got the same feeling Tuesday night when they're playing the Tar Heels, and lo and behold, that's what happened. So I think Carolina's lineup has the battle mentality that can, get this guy deep in counts. Maybe they strike out a bunch, maybe they don't. But to get his pitch count up, because that's what everybody's trying to do against this guy. LSU's bullpen's pretty average. Not bad, but I wouldn't call them great, certainly not at the level of Carolina. So once it gets past the starters, as far as pitching goes, it's advantage South Carolina. And so if I'm the Gamecock hitters, that's exactly what I'm wanting to do. to this guy tonight. And then their number 2 starter is pretty good. Number 3 starter is kind of shaky. So if you get through tonight and win, if there are games 2 and 3, you have a chance to really make a statement. And JB was talking today on our show, and I'm kind of with him. Maybe not. But if you sweep it, even if it's a 2-game sweep, and you're South Carolina, you can make a strong case for being ranked number 1 in the country next week when the polls come out. And that would be something I think we all would love to see, considering the history of this program.
Yeah, when you think about it, JC, I agree with a lot of things you just said. You think about this team and sort of the makeup right now, and you're right. I think of and not to knock on him anymore, because Mark Kingston obviously has won a lot of good favor, I think, this season. But so far in the Kingston era before this season, it had felt like, when you were down 3-0 in the 7th or 8th, the lead was insurmountable. The game just felt like it was over. And that's not the case this year with this team. It's just really not, because of the quality of at-bats they're putting together. It's not just feast or famine with the power. And like you mentioned, it does feel like those old school Ray Tanner teams. And another thing you said I really agree with is the attitude of this ball club. I don't think it could be any better than it is right now. It's dare I say, it's easy to have a good attitude when you're 27-3, but you've earned the right to have that attitude, right? It's, when Eli Jerzabek said, they got to play us. We ain't playing them. Like Mark Kingston saying, it's good. They're good. We're good. Let's go play, right? You just love that attitude. And I think it'll be a lot of good on good this weekend, as they say, on the football field, on the gridiron, if you will. And it's going to be a really, really fun weekend for baseball at Founders Park. And I would agree with both you guys, man. I think, listen, I think if it's a 2-game, a 3-game, whatever it is, you sweep it, Carolina should be number 1. They've done everything. They have done literally everything they could to this point. And if you don't put them there, it's simply just bias towards other teams, that because this team was ranked ahead of them, or this team was higher up in the preseason rankings, they will have earned it at that point, in my opinion. So, JC, appreciate you taking the time, my friend. Looking forward to next week. We'll have you on Friday, not Thursday, because I'll be out of town, kind of moving around. But
sure,
looking forward to talking. It'll be spring game day eve, if you will. We'll talk everything spring game, kind of preview it, break it down, look forward to it. And I'm glad you brought up again the Jason Brown, EJ Jenkins thing, because one of the most fun things about the spring game, every year you can count on, I don't know why it is, there's a spring game standout that goes off that never plays. So I call it those guys didn't, but it's
I call it the Taki Muhammad Award every year.
Right.
They moved Taki to receiver. He caught 8 passes for 157 yards, and the next thing you know, he didn't play anymore.
Yeah.
So.
but it's a great opportunity for those young guys and different guys to show out. So it'll be a lot of fun. Looking forward to chatting with you on that. And great stuff today, JC. I appreciate you taking the time, my friend.
Hey, thanks, Chris. Take care, man.
Yeah, man. We'll do it again next week. Appreciate JC Shurburtt taking us right into the end of the show. You love to see that. John Edward could get 2 games in tomorrow. Just saying. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. Looking forward to them making the announcement. I'm sure that's coming very, very soon. As the Gamecocks will most likely, if I had to guess, play a doubleheader tomorrow. Just with the expected forecast. We'll see. We'll see what happens. But either way, game set tonight, 7 o'clock. Going to be a really, really fun one, guys. And, of course, we'll be back here tomorrow live, noon to 2 on the Daily Crow. Also, guys, come out tonight. Carolina Ale House, Woodruff Road officially gets going at 6. I'll be out there about 5:15, 5:30 or so. We'll have the Beamer Ball to the Moon Tour shirts for sale, the Beamer Ball towels and koozies for sale. We'll have koozies to give away. Really, really excited for it and cannot wait to hang with a bunch of great upstate Gamecocks tonight at that Carolina Ale House, Woodruff Road location. And then, of course, at 7 o'clock, it's first pitch. Gamecocks take on the LSU Tigers in game 1 of a massive SEC series at Founders Park. Cannot wait for that, guys. Also, check out the podcast that dropped this morning, episode 773, a full breakdown of the weekend, and also talk a little football as well, because it's never a bad time to talk South Carolina and SEC football. Thanks again to all those who called in, tuned in, left your comments. The banter was incredible. Go Cox, beat LSU, and we will talk to you all tomorrow.